Oh, isn't it though?
Good evening. I'd like to call the Mount Holly Township Council meeting for November 9th to order. Call of order.
Calling the roll, Mr. Brown. Present. Mr. Falco is absent tonight. Mr. Jones.
Present.
Ms. Sykes.
Present.
Mr. Thiessen.
Would you all please stand for Pledge of Allegiance?
There is a quorum.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence, please. Please see this. Verification and notice.
This meeting is being held pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act of 1974, and all provisions of that act have been met with adequate notice of this meeting having been published in the Township's 2 official newspapers on January 12, 2015, published on the Township's website, and posted in the official Township Bulletin Board.
Okay, let's move on to communications. Before we get started with communication, I know a lot of you guys are here tonight to speak on behalf of American Emergency Squad. Letters have been sent out. Note that this is not on the agenda for tonight to be discussed, so any of your comments will be done under the public matters to be presented. And we will take all your thoughts and considerations and try to answer any questions that you may have, but as it is now, we are not ready to get into a full comment with everybody on this matter. So we'll move on to the next part of communications. We have a certificate of appreciation to Mill Race Village. Is anyone here? Please come on up. While they're coming up, I just wanted to let you guys know this is a certificate of appreciation and grateful recognition of your continued service to the Township of Mount Holly and the annual Witches Ball event. We hereby present Mill Race Village Arts and Preservation with this certificate in recognition of the success of the 2015 Witches Ball. And I spoke with Rich and he said that you had a few words that you would like to say.
Oh.
When he called and told me he wasn't going to be here, he said that you wanted to say a few words. So.
Sure. Well, I'll introduce everybody. I'm Heidi Winsinger. This is Kathy Spear, who handles all the vendors for the Witches Ball. We have Susan Thomas, who is the president of Mill Race Arts and Preservation, which is the nonprofit that manages Witches Ball and runs it. And then Bob Harbold and Miriam Miano, who have did all the volunteer management this year. We have over, I think it's like 65 or more volunteers that volunteer for the Witches Ball. And Tom Greenfield, who is the creator of Mona the Witch, the gigantic witch that no
Everybody
other town
loves.
has. And yay! And also the creator and manager of the Zombie Graveyard that we had this year. And he also is with the Mill Race Theater Company. And so thanks for the recognition for the Witches Ball and Mill Race Arts and Preservation. We've been in existence since 2002, quietly doing weird things like this to promote Mount Holly. And we will continue on.
We appreciate it very much. It was a very joyful event. I even took my kids down there a little bit earlier and then took them home and went back. Got a little out of control, but we do enjoy it very much and we do appreciate you guys being in town and everything that you guys do.
Thanks.
Thank you guys very much.
Thanks very much.
If there's any open seats next to you, please notify some of the people that are standing, that way they could sit down, since we did have a few people leave. Thank you. And we'll move on to our next communication. Council has received a report from the EACGT and we have reviewed it. Any questions or anything from it? Any comments, Randy?
There's two more. Dave, there's over two more. I'm not gonna go over the whole thing, because I know a lot of people here want to talk, this evening.
And for those who don't know, you want to test,
Sorry.
let everyone know what the EAG is.
EAC, the Environmental Advisory Committee. So I'm the chair of the Environmental Advisory Committee. Anyways, I basically just wanted to mention one thing that was on most of its routine, and that is, I just want to really remind council that our committee recently conducted a tree inventory of the street trees, so when a public tree is of concern in the township and is being considered for removal, that we should first be consulted before a decision is made to immediately remove a tree because of public safety or hazard. This happened this past week, and we were not consulted, and we need to be kept in the loop to have it looked at by us or an expert before final decision is being made. So it's really what the main thing we want to put.
We're talking about the tree on that part of it. And that has, I've suggested, the township manager's not here tonight, but I suggested to the township manager that I believe, could be wrong about this, but I think we have some funds left over from the tree grant, a little bit of money left over from the tree grant anyway.
Well, there is money in the grant, and a lot of it is going to be designated to remove the hazardous trees that we have designated thus far.
Because I suggested that possibly we look at having the, professional certified arborist actually take a look at that tree.
Yes.
And then if he feels it's, obviously if a professional feels it's unsafe, comes down.
Right, there's money for that.
And maybe if he feels that there's a possibility we could, it would be okay, that we remove the curb, have him present when we remove the curb. And if, they remove the curb, a little gingerly and not rip it out.
Right.
Maybe the tree, again, with the professional there, he can take a look at it. If we can save it, great. If we can't, if it's a public safety hazard, it's gotta come down.
Oh, I understand that. It's just that a decision was made about consulting us first. And
Right.
the tree that has to come down, it certainly has to come down. But we have been working with the consultant, so I can reach out to him because he's been working with us on this grant all along. So I can reach out to him and we can set up a time for him to come and look at the tree.
Yeah, that was suggested I made to the township manager.
Okay. All right, that's really the only thing. Everything else on here is really routine.
Thank you, Randy. Move on to the approval of minutes. Our September 16th minutes are still incomplete, so we will not be voting on that tonight. So we'll move to the October 14th, 2015 regular minutes. Does anyone on council have any questions or concerns on that? Is there a motion? We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Sykes?
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen?
I wasn't present, so I'll abstain.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Motion carries, 3 with 1 abstention.
Okay, moving on to ordinance, first reading by title only. This is ordinance number 2015-11. It's an ordinance of the Township of Mount Holly accepting the donation of real properties owned by Kathleen Shields, identified as Block 122, Lot 12.01 on the Township of Mount Holly's tax map. And again, this is for title only. So bring it back to council for any questions or concerns or any action.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
I have a first and second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Sykes?
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, next on the agenda is ordinance number 2015-12. An ordinance of the Township of Mount Holly authorizing the lease of 108 Levis Drive to Fernmore Properties LLC to aid in the redevelopment and construction of the Gardens redevelopment area. Again, back up to council for any questions or any action. I have a first, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second, roll call please.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Sykes?
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes,
I'm sorry, motion carries unanimously.
thank you. Okay, now, this is ordinance by second reading by title, and we will have a public hearing on this ordinance. It's ordinance 2015-10. It's an ordinance of the Township of Mount Holly amending Chapter 36 of the Municipal Code, Police Department, to recreate the position of police captain. First, I will open up to the public. If anyone in the public has a question or a comment on this and this ordinance only, please raise your hand, and I will call you up to state your name and address. I see one hand. Yeah, heading up, Lewis. If you can just remember, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Luis Lopez, I'm Mount Holly resident. My question is, what happened to the current position? It's held by Master Angelo, right?
Master Angelo is our chief of
Chief,
police.
not captain, Louis.
He's not captain.
We're creating a captain position that currently is not. We have a chief, which is Master Angelo, who's going to stay. And right now, we have 2 lieutenants, but no captain.
Well, you make Master Angelo captain, I mean, he's doing, a great job and stuff. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes,
Jeff, I just wanted to let you cross you. Why do we need to move to have a captain and we're gonna have 2 lieutenants and a captain and a chief?
no. We will have 1 chief, 1 captain, 1 lieutenant.
So the captain, I guess, will be in charge of the chief's 5 years.
And a succession, more or less, like, if he's not here, and then possibly, Master Angelo at some point, more likely will retire. So you more or less have a succession plan.
Is there a pay increase for the captain? Okay.
Anybody else? No? All right, we're going to close the public hearing on ordinance 2015-10, bring it back up to council. Any questions or any action? Motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Sykes?
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Moving on. This is now matters to be presented by the public. Members of the public are invited to submit comments during the public comment portion of this meeting. The council, pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act, will not publicly discuss personnel matters and may choose not to respond to any comment made by members of the public during this portion of the meeting. However, the council will give all comments appropriate consideration and will refer to all individual complaints to the township manager or appropriate township representative for resolution. Each citizen will be allotted up to 3 minutes to speak in order to allow everyone the opportunity to express their opinions and concerns. And until Nikki gets back, I would just like to make sure that we keep this a very professional and well-run council meeting. So if there's any side comments in council, I will not allow that, and you address council as a whole, and please don't refrain from speaking to other members in the audience. Are you ready, Nick? Okay, so we'll move to matters presented by the public. I will start on my right-hand side, first row, and I will move back because there are a lot of individuals. We will get out into the hallway, so bear with us. So first row, anyone in the first row on the right-hand side? Yes.
So Reverend Meyer, Broad Street, now Holly. I have a question if we know what's going on with the house or the building Buzz's Tavern, which was going under renovations that it got shut down and nothing's been done to the property for a year or 2. And it's in pretty deplorable condition. There's probably 10 or 12 properties, some owned by the county, and residents that are blatant eyesores on the main arteries in Mount Holly. That's been my pet peeve for 30 years. And they still look just as bad 30 years later. We got all new council. You guys have had 4 years to get it going. So that's my question. Who's in charge and are we gonna get this stuff taken care of? Like the applicant with this.
Do we have any idea what's going on with that?
I can answer that
Yeah.
briefly. I know it changed hands whenever they started renovations, and there were a couple of issues. I believe that the enforcement of all the permits were done at the time. And then since then, I can't say what happened after, but there wasn't a lot to it. Putting a German restaurant.
The one lady that came in, and then haven't heard anything else from her. So, maybe,
I know that Josh and I had spoken about that. We had reached out to her, find out what's going on. We did not hear back, but we're aware of
And
it.
she was also seeking EBZ funding, I don't know whether they've been talked to
There's no
about.
application.
She came in and talked to them. She didn't send an application, did she contact you?
Yes.
Okay.
She was going to.
Okay.
thank you. Anybody else in the first row? Okay, moving on to the second row. Third row. Yes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Larry Burke, 35 Nippons Avenue. I'm here tonight for two reasons: to caution the mayor and council about the deceptive lure of privatization, as well as to put a face on the members of the community who've been well served by American Emergency Squad. The Burlington County Times quotes Mayor DeFalco as to seeking oversight and more control over services. And I assure you that contracting outside of this community give you neither. My wife and I are both educators, and we've seen firsthand. I get really nervous when I do this, and I'm lying.
I get and we have a lot more people than usual.
So my wife and I are both educators, and we've seen firsthand the dangers of privatization. Contracting a bus company, for example, saves you money, but only for a little while. Okay? Here's what you don't see that it costs the school district. Schools lose control over their yearly calendar and their daily bell schedules. Bus routes become compacted, and children spend a longer time on buses than they really need to. School administrators become at the mercy of bus companies during inclement weather. Do you want to know why we have so many snow days? It's not climate change. It's the bus companies dictate whether or not their buses run. A Katharine Hepburn-esque lady used to take my phone calls at 4 a.m. when I called out sick. Stay-at-home moms in the community would take care of my students that day. Now I have to go on a corporation website where strangers from all over the Tri-County area bid on my absence. And these strangers earn less per day than the substitutes of the past because they have to pay a fee to a subservice. There's a word for that type of relationship, and I will not use it here this evening. Okay? And finally, I want to tell you about the one time, and I pray it's the only time, I had to call 911 for a medical emergency. This is my son, Matthew. The council would like to see these pictures. Please, feel free. Okay? Matthew came home from Memorial Hospital before a corporation swallowed up that hospital as well. Okay? He had a feeding tube in his nose and was hooked up to a heart monitor. One evening he turned gray and the alarm on his heart monitor went off. America Emergency Squad and the Mount Holly Police were at my door while I was still on the phone with 911. My Matthew is fine now. He underwent open heart surgery. He's now 15 years old. America's attorney, Nancy Valentino, says that America's members have a unique knowledge of the residents, the town's back roads, and the geography that can't be replicated by an outside company. This was definitely the case for my son Matthew. Most people don't even know where Nippons Avenue is. It only has 3 houses on it. I know Betty knows, she's my neighbor. There needs to be oversight. There needs to be financial transparency. But there also needs to be a feeling of security and a sense of community. America Emergency Squad has been doing the latter for 78 years. Give them the chance to continue. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Anyone else in the third row? We have 2, so one at a time, please.
Hi,
Good evening.
I'm also here for the squad.
Name and address.
Rosemary Webster, 220 Cardinal Lane, Mount Holly. husband retired from the military. He was in 26 years. After he got home, we realized that there was something wrong with his lungs. So he went for a evaluation. It turns out he had something called idiopulmonary fibrosis. From the time I noticed that his breathing was off, I had 20 minutes only to get him to the hospital, and the American Emergency Squad picked him up 5 times. Would he have gotten there without them alive? Yes, but how would he have had cognition? I mean, his lungs were shutting down, which means that his brain could have shut down. So I owe this squad the fact that we had 6 more years before he died. So I just think they're a wonderful squad, and they did wonders for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Barbara Zimmerman, 55 James Street, Mount Holly. I'd like to echo what both these folks said, particularly the first gentleman. I worked as a nurse at Memorial Hospital for nearly 30 years. I worked with a lot of the paramedics. In fact, they came up to my unit for a partial training. Before Memorial became Virtua, it was like a family. The paramedics have continued to be a part of that family. They're not somebody that come in from God knows where. They know Mount Holly. They know us. They know the community of doctors that they work with at the hospital, and that's critical. Several years ago, I found out just how critical it was. My son developed, unknown to us, a heart condition that, had it gone untended, literally could have been fatal. He was only 35 years old. That's pretty young for a pretty healthy guy to suddenly develop something like that. He was at the hospital. He was discharged. A month later, he had another problem. We called the squad. They were there literally within 5 minutes. They had to work on him extensively in our home before they got him to the hospital, with sirens going the whole way. Had they been further away, had it been an outside company, he might not be here. He has a good job now today because he was saved by the squad, by the professional, close by paramedics of the emergency squad. If you contract it out, as many of the services were at Memorial, you lose that family feeling, and that is critical. This society today has many things that have lost that family community touch, and that's important. It makes a difference in the way people do their jobs. It's not just a matter of money, it's the way people see things, the way they value their jobs, the way they value their community. If it's outsourced to somebody who really doesn't live here or is further away, it could make a critical difference to Mount Holly. You can give it away and sell it bit by bit, but it won't be the same place that it was before. And once you've done it, it'll be something you can't undo. It'll be something you regret. So I would urge you to look very, very carefully and get more responses from the community before you would outsource something as valuable to the America Squad. Over the years, we've had 4 fire companies. We were down to 2. If we trim that down even more, we'll be trimming something extremely valuable to Mount Holly. The America Squad is a real part of our community, and I don't think we should lose them, just as they are with the virtual paramedics. They're great people. Thanks. Thank you.
Anyone else in that third row? Seeing none, moving on to the fourth row.
Good evening, my name is Kathy Henderson. I live at 201 Starling Lane here in Mount Holly. I've been here for 31 years this December. I am a retired, 2 months retired critical care nurse from DeBoer Heart and Lung Center. And I did want to concur with what they have said about the squad, and I want to share with you within my 3 minutes a situation that happened at my home, and the squad was there to help my friend. He was here visiting from Jamaica and was working in my basement with gasoline. Bad thing to do. Okay, he knows better now. Flashpoint, I guess, the gasoline caught fire, and instead of trying to smother it, he was trying to get the pan out of the house. He tripped up the steps. The gas splashed his face, his arms, and his legs. He was burned over 25% of his body. The squad was there. They got him to Crozier Chester Medical Center, and today he is working, he is fine, and I could go on and on and on. But I just need you to know that you can't use money, okay? Money seems to be the bottom line for everything these days. But I've been a member of this community, I love Mount Holly, and it's just something that we should keep in mind. And the squad is a very important part of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in that fourth row? Yes, sir. He raised his hand first. Sorry.
Good evening. My name is Dave Eckelberg. I'm from Burlington, 1003 T High Street, Burlington Town. I come here as chief of the Endeavor Emergency Squad. I'm chief operating officer for them. We service Burlington City, Burlington Township, and Edgewater Park. We handle about 6,000 calls a year, so I'm pretty familiar with the business end of EMS at this point. I just want to tell you that what you're getting with America, you're getting the best bang for your buck. If you bring in an outside agency, that outside agency, whoever they are, they're going to have to hire additional staff. They're going to have to bring on additional equipment. They're going to have to buy additional usable equipment for their ambulances. That's all costs money. The payer mix in Mount Holly, of course, isn't that great. It's a working town. A lot of people don't have insurance. They don't have a lot of money to pay their bills or pay what they can. So a lot of money's not coming in. So if you hire an outside squad to come into your town, again, they're going to have to hire all these additional resources. Those resources cost money. If you put the RFP out, the RFP may come back. The first year may be for a few $1,000s, whatever they bid the first year. But then that RFP, as time goes on, and if you get rid of your existing squad, as years go on, that squad's going to go, well, it's time to start jacking up the price of Mount Holly. Otherwise, they're not going to have a service. So it's going to cost more and more money. From what I understand, you don't pay America very much money at all. You give them some fuel, you give them some insurance. I bet basically that would probably cost per taxpayer just a few dollars of that in Mount Holly. So I know that you've recently passed an ordinance to look into doing an RFP for your emergency squad and some things you're requiring that emergency squad to do. However, it seems that you left out your best asset, your best resource, and that is the America Emergency Squad, to bring them in and say, hey, what do you think we need to talk about here? And I really think that's important, that you sit down with the membership and the officers of the America Squad and go over all those important things. That's something you need to do. So I'm here, again, the Endeavor and America have been friends for well over 70 years. We've been on the turnpike together. We provide each other mutual aid in the event of large incidents. So again, the Endeavor Emergency Squad is here to support the Endeavor Emergency Squad. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carolyn O'Neill, 720 Holland Lane, member of Mount Holly for about 7 years. I'd like to talk to you about the costs that these people who have preceded me haven't mentioned. The cost of delayed service, the cost to both families, community, resources when services are delayed. I'm a critical care nurse, and I'm the wound care nurse at the Border Heart Lung Center. So I have extensive knowledge to which I speak, because I only admit to 20 years in their medical intensive care. Okay? As they've aptly said, with prompt service, you don't need an intensive care unit. You can go to a step-down unit, you can get your treatment faster, you don't need as much home nursing because you've gotten prompt service. Without prompt service, you're looking at an intensive care and ICU bed stay The last I heard, that was about $1,500 a day. I don't think the residents here really have that to spend for their out-of-pocket costs. Then you're looking at the home care or the rehab care. All those costs count in delayed time. And I think, you know, the people who have presented already have presented their case that America shows up. You know, they've done their commitment to the community. And the costs that don't show up are the costs to the community if you don't maintain good service. And I strongly urge you to consider that cost to the community when there is any delay in service. Thank you.
Anyone else in the fourth row? Yes. Good evening.
It's 35 Bridgewood Street. First time I've ever been to a council meeting, but I heard about people in America, you know, trying to take bids and everything. And I have gone through extensive homes, and so I know what it's like. And if you were here if you were asking for bids for new equipment, for whoever shovels the snow or whatever, I wouldn't be here. But if it's money you're thinking about for the life, you don't get a second chance. If you get some equipment that doesn't work right, well, there's always another year you get something different. But if something don't go right with your health, you know, I think it's a serious situation. I don't think money is a question. If their service has been good for all these years, why would you consider something else? The old saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it, you know? Yeah, I wanted to come and see if I heard a lot of complaints today. Maybe there's a lot of complaints about their service, then I would understand you bidding it out. But from what I heard, there's no complaints at all, so why would you be wanting to change it? That's my opinion, you know? Okay, so, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to the back row from Tim over to the wall. Anyone in the back row? Tim, if you want to raise your hand so everyone knows who you are.
If you're gonna make me raise my hand, I gotta stand up. Totally makes sense, right?
You're sitting right in front of me.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd go the other way. That's fine. So you know who I am, but Tim Young, 158 Mill Street. It's been a while since I've been to one of your meetings, and I'm sure my face isn't always the greatest one you want to see in this room. I usually have something that's very poignant that I want to say, and I never really agree with you guys, and we know that. But of course, I'm here today about America EMS and about the dealings that you guys are considering. I realize that you're trying to say tonight that you have no motivations tonight to make a decision, and that you're here just mostly to listen to what we have to say. But I'd like to encourage you to actually listen tonight, and not just listen to whoever may be pulling those puppet strings in the back room. Not the person who's sending you text messages during this meeting, telling you what to say and how to respond to somebody. This is about people here. And I think you can tell that by the fact that you have people outside in the hallway. So many people, like the lady that was just up, that said that she's never even come to your council meeting. You have fired people up enough. You have pissed them off enough about this situation that they're here tonight to tell you that you are here to represent the people of Mount Holly. And by considering this, you're not considering what all these people in this room wish to have happen, which is to maintain America Emergency Squad. They've been here since 1937. That's 78 years worth of quality service. And if the mayor wants to say that he has no recourse for when he receives a complaint, well then start saying, I've received 20 complaints. Give a number. Tell us what amount of complaints there are, because otherwise you're just saying, well, there's possibility that I've received complaints, and that doesn't prove anything to anybody in this room. And those are my comments, so thank you.
Thank you. Before I move on to the next one, I just want to make a comment off of that. But I don't believe that a public meeting is the appropriate venue to discuss complaints about emergency squads, as there are medical privacy laws that must be followed. So as far as any of the complaints, we cannot sit here and address any complaints that have come before us.
With your permission, could I respond? A quick response?
We have a full house, Tim, I'm sorry.
Did I use my 3 minutes?
You said you were done. You can wait till the end and I will
I will
allow
wait
you to
till
come
the
back up. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll talk.
No, so I'm on this side.
Are you on that side?
Yes, sir.
Let me know
I-
what,
Yep, I will give
let me know
you.
what's on this side.
Yes, sir, I will.
Okay, Deputy Mayor, you make sure I know.
Thank you, Mr. Racy. Yes, Lois.
Make sure you get my right side too there, Mr. Allen.
You don't have a right side.
All right, guys, forever here, let's, Mr. Lopez.
Next person, Mahali Basadan. My opinion about the emergency request, if she stays here, she never considered to move to West Hampton. I mean, if she, like I said, as she stay here, help a lot of people, and I hate that, to move, or here, church 75 West Hampton is controlled by our police chief, our chief, I think, the police or Jason Carter. I want that. I don't want no interference. Stay right here in this township. It helps a lot of people. And I got a question about the agendas.
Yes.
My question first is, agenda 2015-197. And 2015-201. Can you clarify that for me?
So 197 is the proposed ordinance to acquire land to the Township Land Use and Planning Board for renewal and report its finding and recommendation.
In the beginning, you passed an ordinance, now it has to go to the planning board, so it's just a resolution, so it's the planning board to review it. It's the same thing with 2001. The planning board has to review the mayor shall have an ordinance.
Has to be done by, within the next 3 weeks roughly.
So I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Why
why
it's on the agenda tonight.
My next comment is, have to do something with the redevelopment taxes. Have been any progress doing the tax on the new houses and the tax on the mortgage?
Payments are all done, we're just waiting for your attorneys to indicate that everything's ready, the house is ready to move in. The first group of units and the other was under construction, but I'm waiting to hear from this.
So the first 4 units are done, we're done with all our parts, we're waiting for them to get something back to us.
It goes 5 or 6 weeks, they gotta get the, my understanding is Ms. Palmer's working on the banks and mortgages, the prior, the application that they never before, so my understanding is that you, the homeowners, along with your attorneys are working on the mortgages, and the township is essentially ready for the first 30 years, 2 years.
And like I've been living here, look, several years. I tried for council member, I tried for country kind of chosen freeholder, and I tried for school board. And I do record every meeting, almost every meeting for the last several years on my YouTube video account. And okay, thank you.
Thank you. Alright, I see 2 more hands that just popped up, 3 more. I'll go with Holly first because her hand was up first. Good evening, Holly.
Good evening. Holly Doyle, 8 Washington Street. I have a question about the minutes from September 16th. This resolution 2015-172. Is this the resolution where you guys made it that you were going to review the EMT services? Is that why those minutes are incomplete?
I don't believe so.
It's, you walked it on, I don't know what it is at this point.
I'll have to check, it's probably related to the redevelopment.
I think
Send it down.
It doesn't state what the title of the resolution was.
No, I would have to go back.
What minutes today?
It said September 16th, resolution number 2015-172.
We don't have the resolution because it was walked on.
It was walked on. It was something that you had
It's
walked
either
on.
me or Mr. Kelly needed it for the, I'm sure it was one of the redevelopment matters.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I don't know what walked on means.
It was brought to our attention the night of the meeting.
Added to the last minute.
At the last
Okay.
minute, sorry.
Okay, so will those be included in the special meeting on November 23rd?
No. Special, you don't have to approve minutes for special meeting.
Okay. My other comment would be, I see the American Squad, I see them as a self-sustaining business in our community. They pay for their employees to be there 24/7. And I know that the township helps with some of their costs, but the cost of their building, they're not nonprofit, I don't believe, so they're paying property taxes, as well. I just want us to encourage the businesses in our community that are staying in business, because we have a lot of empty stores. We have a lot of empty buildings. You know, we should be trying to encourage the ones that are here. So I would just hope that the council would choose to work with those who have been working with us all along first, before we start to look out of town. Because I don't care if the other towns have empty businesses. I want my town to be the one that has the businesses full. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Nancy Valentino, 18 South Second Street, Wilmington. I am the attorney for the American Emergency Squad. I am well aware of HIPAA laws and just want to bring to the community's attention that at least in the year and a half, and we believe well longer than that, that the present chief has been in place with American Emergency Squad, they have not received not one complaint from Mount Holly Township with respect to that have been provided by the squad, nor has there been any indication that there has been any treatment provided or failure to provide treatment when it has been requested and or needed by a citizen, visitor, or someone who is employed here in Mount Holly Township. Thank you.
Let the right side. I'm gonna speak now. I'm on the right side.
No, we're still on this
Oh,
side.
you're still on that
I'm still
side?
on this
Oh, I'm
side.
sorry, I thought it was my side.
Individuals.
Please let me know when it's my side.
I will. Thank you. Could everyone please silence your cell phones? I should have made that announcement earlier. We do have to record these meetings, and it does mess up with our recordings. Thank you. Back over this side, Mike, I saw your hand up. Thank you.
Hi, Mike Coughlin, 126 Ashurst Lane. You know, after listening to this attorney, to me it sounds like America is the MVP of this town, and we're in the Super Bowl, and we're ready to bench our MVP quarterback for a third string vendor.
You already got rid of Shady, come on.
Please.
We're trying to get through the meeting.
I just don't understand how somebody with no complaints, somebody with what they do every day they get up and do what they do with no complaints, and yet we're gonna just throw them to a third or fourth string vendor on every day is their Super Bowl. Every day is their Super Bowl because every day somebody's life matters. It is their day to die, and they don't allow that to happen because they are the first string quarterback. We can't replace them with a third or fourth string quarterback. Some vendor from out of town who doesn't know the streets, doesn't know the roads, doesn't know anything. And like Mr. Burke said, when you privatize, you never save money. If anyone wants to question the numbers, they never add up. They never add up. Every time that we go to privatize, you never add up. Show me one case where we privatize and we save money. It always blows up at the end. Always does. This time, now we're playing with people's lives. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else back up? Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm Bill Howard. I live at 432 Parkview Drive. And like some of the others, I have some experience with the emergency squad. When my mother was still with me, there were several times that we called 911 and the squad responded immediately. There were never any problems. So like some of the others, I can say that as well. I also have a little bit of experience with contracting out operations, and as far as I can see, there's only two good reasons why you would ever consider it. And one is to improve operations, and the other would be to save on costs. And I think it's pretty clear after hearing the things I've heard tonight, you're not going to improve on operations. That's pretty much a given. And as for costs that you might be saving, I'm not hearing how much is being spent, and it doesn't seem like it's a lot of money. And I can't imagine it,
I'm listening, I'm
so a
sorry.
little bit of, that's okay. I
No.
saw a little bit of a smile, maybe there's something, you know, I don't.
No, sorry,
Okay.
I'm having issues with my eyes.
Okay.
So-
Okay, but unless there's a staggering savings and cost, and I don't think so, it just isn't worth it. I'm talking about life and death operations. We're not talking about trash removal or leaf removal. It's something important. I don't think it's going to be worth the change. Thank you.
No.
Where are you at now?
I'm still on this side of the room, Paul.
You're
We are
gonna go
going
front
from
to back
front to
after?
back, left, right,
So I'm confused. You're gonna go from here to there, or you're gonna
No,
go front and back?
no, I'm going from front of the room to back of the room.
Okay, I got it now.
Thank you. Anyone else on this side of the room that would like to speak?
Yo, Alan, did you get that? Did you pan over there, Alan? You're not doing
Thank you.
anything, right?
Please refrain from commenting until it's your turn. First row on this side, yes. Thank you.
Stephanie Allen, 62 Pine Street. So I'm still kind of confused, so I do have a couple questions. I didn't know anything that was going on about America until I got a letter. And with everybody talking, I'm still trying to understand that if America has been working for 78 years, and I was told that the township awarded them, they got an award recently, which I don't know if that's true or not, about how, because of their performance, how good it was. That's why I'm kind of confused to why all of a sudden you're looking to bid out with another company. Because from what I understand, wasn't there an ordinance put in years ago that America was the only one that was supposed to run EMS around here? Like, I'm not sure. Like, these are things I'm hearing, because I'm not I'm not there. But if there was an ordinance put out for them to be the number one, I don't understand. If they did such a good job, I'm not hearing that they did a bad job, so I don't understand if they're doing their job. Why are we looking out to do? I don't understand. You know what I mean? It's just confusing because you're hearing different things. Like I'm not reading the papers. I'm not seeing reports. I'm not hearing complaints about them. But then if they're doing their job and if there's an ordinance put in place, I don't understand how you're going to go over that ordinance and then put a bid out.
Thank
Chuck Downs, 4th Thornton Road, Mount Holly, New Jersey. This town has a lot of problems. Right? We're upside down in our tax base. We're losing the hospital. Woman's Lake looks like I don't know what. Garden Street got more houses boarded up than I've ever seen since I've been there, born and raised 53 years. And we're creating a problem. EMS and fire is not a problem in Mount Holly, so why is the council making it a problem? Deal with the real issues we have in this town and leave EMS and fire alone because they're not a problem in our township.
Second row, Mike, I will get to you too in 1 second. Thank you.
Michael Rothmel, 33 Union Street, Mount Holly. From what I've heard, we have a squad that's giving us stellar service and at a bargain basement price because we really only pay for their insurance and fuel. And I can't see how you could get out a proposal and anyone could ask for any less than American Emergency Squad. And my concern is that the request for proposals is political. And I think what the council should note is when it was perceived that the regime in West Hampton was making political appointments to their emergency services and other services, even text messages that revealed that if the Republicans won, they would seek to replace those department heads did not hurt them. The revelation resulted in the Republicans winning. And I think the council should take the message loud and clear that if there was a replacement of our EMS that's political and not necessary, the same thing could happen. And I think that's very important because the community does not want a replacement, and so an RFP does not seem to be appropriate. And also, two other things. One, while you may HIPAA laws prevent revealing privacy about healthcare. If there were 3 complaints, 4 complaints, 5 complaints, certainly nothing includes the township from stating the number, unless of course it's 0 and then doesn't support the decision. And finally, what is the purpose of the special meeting on the 23rd?
To pass the fair share housing.
Okay.
It has to be done by December.
I'm sorry, we didn't hear the answer back here.
Yeah, there's a court scheduled for with regard to the fair share housing plan, and it's been referred to the land use board. It has to be revisited by council prior to a court date.
Thank you.
Moving on to, still in the second row.
Beth Porter, 211 Broad Street, Mount Holly. My father worked for America, and at the time he was very proud. The company was well respected. My son worked for the company as well as West Hampton, and the company runs its butt off. They're busy constantly. He would come home from America and he would be beat because of the amount of calls he had been on. There were nights that West Hampton and America were working together in town. There were nights that America was helping West Hampton on other calls. And I think when you have something that has been this well-oiled and run so well, that when we have the amount of times that we need 2 ambulances in town or 2 ambulances somewhere else, we need to do something to build up our town, to help our guys, rather than run the few people that are on that ship ragged so they can't function the next day or whatever. We need to help them to do a better job, not by cutting them out and finding other people to do the job for them. We need to find a way to help them and help us.
Thank you.
Joyce Ray, 208 East Mill Street. I've lived on Mill Street all my life, before the building was there, and I know a lot about it. My father was one of the charter members. A lot of people don't know. The first ambulance was a hearse that was donated, and they helped rebuild it with the first ambulance. That building was built with volunteer money, money from cake sales and washing windows and all kinds of things. It's always been a volunteer organization and well respected. 2 years ago, I had my first ride in an ambulance. Fell in front of my house on Mill Street. My granddaughter was with me. We called 911. They came up, and luckily Miles Parker was one of them. He knew me, and knew my granddaughter. When we went to the hospital, Brenda wanted to go in the ambulance. He talked to her. He said, I will meet you there. They took me to the room, and Miles went out and waited till Brenda came into the hospital and brought her back to me. That's the kind of service that we have in this town with our guys. You're not going to get that from anybody else. I've always respected them, the town, and as far as somebody else coming in, I feel, a lot of people feel, we take care of our own. We always have, and we always will.
Thank you. Good evening.
I'm Diana Pasqua. I live at 150 Mill Street, right across the street from the ambulance company. Thank God. I have never needed them. I'm a veteran of the United States Army. I was a medic during the Vietnam era, and I know the importance of response and the critical meaning of response time. I watch them every day. I literally am right across the street. Probably the largest portion of their electric bill is those doors going up and down and up and down, because all day long they are coming and going and coming and going. They seem to have the utmost respect for the residents in the area, because if those sirens goes on coming out of those doors, that means there's a really critical, or they need to get out into traffic. Otherwise, they wait till they're kind of away, and then the sirens go on. but I just watch them and I have the utmost respect. I know because I used to do ambulance runs as a medic and aerovac runs. I know the purpose they serve and how important it is to the community. I actually was stationed at Fort Dix, lived in Mount Holly, and 40 years later I've come full circle and I now live in Mount Holly again. So I'm proud of the community and I certainly am proud of what America does, and I watch them every day, so I'm very impressed. So I hope you think 80 times before you would make this type of a thing, because people's lives are at stake. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in that row? Seeing none, moving on to the third row. Seeing none, moving on to the fourth row.
My name is Barbara Lindsay, 54 Ridgely Street, Mount Holly. I'm a fourth generation Mount Holly family. To quote the mayor here, it is our responsibility that all the residents in Mount Holly are receiving proper emergency medical care. Trying to not lose any sleep over it. We're in good hands with America. Not waste any more time with your meetings or whatever. You know, get to the important problems of Mount Holly. These people are not doing this as a hobby. They're well-trained. It's a well-oiled team that knows exactly what we need. And another comment that was made here is part of this, what might come up is a possibility of an ambulance fee. Now, how is that going to help us? You're here to represent us. So I hope that you will listen to the comments that are made tonight and make this a non-issue, because that's really what it is. We have an emergency squad that's doing their job. We're pleased with it. We have no complaints, as you can tell. And I will just leave it in your hands to rest assured that we are in good hands with America.
Another hand in that fourth row.
Hi, Carol Ackley, 432 Crooks Drive in Mount Holly. I hate to break the momentum on the AES, but I'm here to get an update on a concern I raised on June 8th, and that is updating the parking signs. I know some of them were updated to include Monday through Friday, and I just wanted to see if there's an update on when the rest of this could be swapped out. I continue to have people coming into the gallery saying, is it only 2-hour parking on Saturday?
Let's see, our manager is not here tonight who would have that answer.
Who was that?
Eric Berry, he's away tonight, and our deputy manager stepping in, so he will. We'll make sure.
Yeah, if I could just get a timeline on when this project is going to be completed, because I raised it in June, and now it's November, and we're really doing a disservice to people who are coming to town who want to shop and eat and drink.
Most people thought the works.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Get that done, Josh?
Yes. Anyone else in that row? Oh, there you go. No.
Carol Hensler, 121 Buttonwood Street, Mount Holly. Number one, I don't want any of you to take these words of wisdom for people who are saying it's a complaint. We're not complaining, but America is something that is fantastic in town. One thing, you can't say anything wrong about them, you really can't. These people are extremely well qualified. If you bring other people in, and I don't think anybody's thinking of this right now, we have streets that a lot of people outsiders don't know about. In a matter of life and death, for someone coming in searching for a street, that person could die before the other squad gets there. These people are here, you call 911, someone over here said, before they hung up, they're at your door. And the Mount Holly police are right there. It's terrific, you can't imagine. Do you also realize we have over 2,000 kids at the high school alone? America comes out, goes straight up Mount Holly Avenue right to the school. You're going to bring somebody else that has to come in and go around and get to the school? That's foolish. It really is. You have the senior citizens in Regency Park. I'm sure they call a lot of times for America. You have Samuel Miller's senior citizens. You have the ones down on Brainerd Street. Older people have use of the emergency squad, and they've got to be there right away. Please don't just say these poor people don't know what they're talking about, because I've lived here for 72 years and I've watched America grow. My husband was a former councilman, he was a former school board member. As my daughter said, he was on America Emergency Squad in America Fire Company. He was a lifelong member. And there were times when there were just two of them riding all night long, and then they had to get up and go to work. These people today are professionally trained. They really are. So if people are worried about they're not getting proper care, these people are saving people, getting them to the hospital immediately. And please listen to us. We really want you to. You know the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And this is an instance of that. Please, I trust that you're going to listen to us and you're going to do the right thing. Thank you.
I'm here to complain, to be very honest with you. I love this nice lady, but I'm here to complain. Paul Bracy, 12 Regency Drive. Do you realize, first of all, thank you for coming and continue to come. Do you realize there's been 28 speakers and not one speaker is in support of your idea? My first question to you is, where did this idea originate? Please, you represent the people. See, I'm not here to beg you. You're elected by the people to serve the people. I'm not feeling that. When 28 people speak against a proposal that you make as a body, my first question to you is, did you speak to the community before you decided to pursue the matter? A yes or no? We got 4 people here. A yes or no?
Paul, I don't know whether you...
Oh, you don't speak now, but you'll speak to the community during your comment later, right?
You asked us for a question. I believe Councilman Thiessen was going to
I'm sorry, you're going to answer the question, Jules?
Yes.
All right, what's your answer?
I don't know where the idea originated. It originated before my current time on council.
Thank you.
Okay. But I...
How come America was not involved in any of the original discussions? I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. I'm sorry, Jules.
Let me finish.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
And I will say, like I say, I think a lot of people here know me, and a lot of people, I'm going to make the best decision, I think, for the township, whether it's popular or not.
I'm sure you will, and I believe that. And you did that with the garden, so I believe that. So if I can follow up.
In my time...
Well, seriously, I got that. There's more to tell everybody.
In my time on council, in the year that I've been on council...
You're going to make a wise decision, but you have more to tell people.
Would you let me finish?
I guess. I want to ask something else, and only have
I've
for a minute.
six complaints about the squad.
Okay.
3 phone calls and 3 emails.
6 in comparison to the 28 I've heard tonight. I'm sure there's more.
Well,
Look, I don't want to go back and
Go
forth.
ahead.
I only
Go
have
ahead.
3 minutes.
Go ahead, sorry.
Tell the people here who have submitted bids for services rendered as of tonight. Somebody on this body has to know.
We have not received any bids.
You have not received one bid, then do something for the community tonight. Do something that you were elected to do as servants of the community. End this madness. Tell America they're doing a righteous job, they'll continue to do the job, and support the community. You are servants of the community. See, your string's been pulled a few too many times, and I don't think you realize that. But I'm telling you this. These folks in the community feel it. Show them tonight that you represent them. This is madness. This is a joke. This is not cost effective. So what's your purpose?
Hi, my name is Cindy Keefe, and I'm born and raised in Mount Holly. I think a lot of you already know me. I'm also the wife of the chief, well, the captain emeritus, who took over well, who's been in America's Squad anyway. So I think in answering Paul's question was, the ordinance came about, and we didn't even know the first ordinance was read. Nobody even called the chief of America's Squad to say, hey, Ron, let's talk. Let's talk about maybe departmentalizing or regionalizing, American emergencies, or, the squads, all, in our central district at RD. I think that, that has always been the talk, around that, maybe we do that. But nobody even called Ronnie, who's very well respected in the emergency medical services, all over the county. I mean, people know his name, whenever you just say Ronnie Keefe, Emergency Medical Services. And that's the building, he was in charge of that building when the first ordinance was read, and he didn't even know about it. I'm not even sure, I know he made it to the second ordinance, because somebody told him about it. So again, you guys, I think as our council people and the people that work for us, the people of Mount Holly, you should have really contacted me and said, hey Ron, let's talk. Somebody else has suggested this, let's talk about it, let's see what we can do. And then you wouldn't have all these people here tonight, all, having a fit, because it seems like it's like this was secretly done, So now we have to, my children were raised in American Emergency Squad. American Emergency Squad has been around for 78 years, as they said. My father-in-law helped start it. Bobby Byen and Ronnie Keefe put the building together back in the 1990s, I think. And then that started all over the county. Everybody else started building the things, and we did what we had to do. So I just think Betty, Jules, Louie, Jason, you guys should have just called them and said, hey Ron, let's talk, instead of doing it the way you did do it. Okay, guys?
Anyone else on the back wall? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Nona Laura. I own 23 Ridgely Street. I have a unique situation. I live in East Hampton, where the services are contracted out to another township. I have sat with a friend of mine for a half an hour waiting for a squad to come. I asked if the American could come, because I know that in the past they responded promptly to East Hampton, because we only had volunteer and they weren't always getting out. May, I had a massive heart attack. I was not going to wait for the contracted ambulance service to come and get me. My husband piled me into his car and drove me to the hospital. So I'm just saying to you to consider, they have done a wonderful job. In the past, before we were contracted, they could respond to East Hampton. Right now, we have to rely on
Who's the contracted service man?
our contracted service is West Hampton. Okay? I just thought you knew. Okay? That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else in the back? On the side wall? Yes, see it, man.
Good evening, members of council. I'm Christine Hendrickson. I live at 10 Poplar Street, Mount Holly. Also like to say thank you to Cindy Keefe, because my other half is the Assistant Chief of America. These men have worked tirelessly these past week and a half, endless hours, not getting paid, just trying to save the squad and the members that we already have in place. A prepared statement in regards to the Township Ordinance 2015-7 establishing emergency medical services and emergency rescue services in Mount Holly. Also with regards to the RFP associated with this ordinance. As a tax-paying citizen of Mount Holly, I would like to make a formal request. I ask that members of the council to make a motion to eliminate the Township's Ordinance 2015-7 along with the RFP. Associated with this ordinance, Mount Holly Township has emergency medical services and rescue services already in place. I feel it would be detrimental to the residents and visitors of Mount Holly to bring an outside agency in, which most likely would be unfamiliar to the town's geography and its residents, which everyone has already most likely stated in this room. As unfamiliar first responders may slow response times to critical incidents, stated in Township Ordinance 2015-7, the American Emergency Squad has historically provided services to Mount Holly Township with very little cost to the residents. So at this time, I'd like to ask the council to produce a new township resolution appointing the American Emergency Squad as Mount Holly's sole proprietor of the emergency medical services within the Township of Mount Holly. They have provided impeccable emergency medical services to the township for 78 years and have proven excellence in pre-hospital emergency medical services. You said you had 3 complaints, maybe 3 emails.
3 emails, 3 calls.
Okay. And then how many of that comes about with 78 years? You would have had an overwhelming sense of phone calls, emails.
The only, like, again, I'm just being realistic, the only, in my prior 16 years on council, I never had 1 complaint, never. In the last year, I've had 6.
It also might have something to do with neighboring township putting a bug in certain people's ears as well. But
And
thank you for your time.
I take that with a grain of salt.
Represent your community. You can do that tonight during new business with 3 votes. Tell me I'm wrong, George.
Thank you, Mr. Bracy.
You can do
had
that
your
tonight,
chance to
Deputy
speak.
Mayor, with 3 votes during new business.
Please
Step
sit
up
down
and
or you will be
represent your
escorted
community.
out.
I don't need to be around anymore, but you can do that during
Then
new
please
business.
leave.
I'm leaving now, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Community, that can be done during new business. All they need are 3 votes.
You said you were leaving, please.
Tell me I'm
leave.
wrong.
Do not disrupt this meeting any
Tell me
longer.
I'm wrong.
Moving on. Anyone else on the wall would like to speak? Moving to outside in the hallway. If anyone can hear me, please one at a time just come up. Thank you.
David Ben, 6 Warwick Place in Mount Holly. Just a couple things. First of all, I think it's disgraceful that you folks had this meeting in here, knowing that it's such a controversial issue. I've been in this community for 30, almost 35 years now, and I know more than once we've met at one of the schools or someplace else where it was more appropriate. So we don't have to have some of your residents standing in the hallway, not able to hear a damn word, so that you have your residents here, all crowded in this little room, so that not everybody can take advantage of this township meeting. You folks advocate, come to the township meetings, participate, and you cram us into this little small room. We're a growing community.
Speaking on that, this topic was not on the agenda for tonight.
It was in the paper that you were going to talk about it.
No, it was in the paper that there was a...
Mr. Deputy, the meeting was advertised long ago, it couldn't be moved, and I understand that there was a leaflet going around from published reports, but it would be possibly moved, it's not accurate that the meeting could have been moved at that later date.
Well, nobody said it could have been moved at that later date, but maybe at that earlier date it should have been. You knew it was a controversial issue, so that's my thoughts on that.
But it was not on the agenda for tonight. The only reason residents are here tonight speaking is because a letter went out.
I didn't get a letter.
I did not receive a letter.
I didn't get a
also,
letter.
and
I'm a resident.
I physically live right around the corner.
I do live in the
from
township. I get the paper. It was in the paper.
Emergency squad.
It was in the paper, so you would have had to expect people here. At any rate, we got people out in the hallway that can't even hear what's going on, and it's not right to.
apologize for that.
It's not right to your citizens. Now, knowing that, maybe you could have accommodated us by sticking a couple speakers out there or something. You know, something to let everybody in on this. But now, talking about the squad. Not that I'm a Paul Bracy fan by any means, but he did bring up a point. Like, where did this come from? Were you guys sitting around at a meeting one night and say, listen, we got a lot of problems in Mount Holly. The squad's running pretty good. Let's do something with them. Where did it come from? Somewhere, something provoked this idea in your heads. And I think with the idea of transparency, which all of you have advocated during your campaigns, that maybe you should be transparent with us now. Let us know where this is coming from. Why are we even here? Why is this even being discussed? Number one. Number two, there's an old adage, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You're trying to fix something that's not broke. And from past experience, I know that when you fix things that aren't broke, they tend to break and don't work properly. So listen to the people that are out here. Listen to the community. I mean, it's tough because we don't have the proper accommodations here. But certainly listen to the community and maybe think twice. And like I said, my concern is, where did this even come from? You know, is that my time? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
benefit, I think that the township was looking at a number of issues over the course of many years. And this issue arose, I believe, even before Mr. Berry was here, just reviewing different things. The ordinance itself in no way does away with America. No, it just provides certain oversight. It was something that had come up some time ago. Obviously, the township was dealing with the gardens and a number of other items. And the ordinance, and the bid, of course, America is free to bid on it. The bid is not a low bidder. It's a type of thing where it can provide the best service, a different type of service. It can do a number of different things, and by no means does it exclude anyone. Furthermore, just to be clear, in terms of the aspect of it, I think one of the reasons that this came up was quite some time ago. I believe with some conversations that, like I said, I think it goes back even before Mr. Berry was here, concerning prices that not America, but any municipality receives from, with regard to a percentage of the revenue received from medical billing. And I think that that was just one item, and looking at different ways that the township could either A, contract with America, B, provide oversight, and a number of other different things. So some of the origins were discussed, more than 2 years ago, and that's what it was. But by no means does it do that. And ultimately, it's up to council on how to deal with that bit. But just to be clear, it goes back quite some time.
Anyone else in the hallway that would like to speak?
Yeah, sorry, George, you didn't have the benefit to know that I was standing behind you. So,
Name and address.
Dwayne Belton, 450 High Street. I wasn't really going to speak because I thought enough people had said what they had to say about American Squad. Tell George said that this went back well before Eric Berry. Sorry, I made a lot of meetings. I don't remember one discussion of America at all in our meetings. Sorry I was there. Now I know maybe you guys talked about it when I wasn't in the room. That happened on a couple things. But let's be real. We discussed the fuel and the insurance on America. Yes. At the same time, we discussed the fuel and the insurance on the library. But that was it. We didn't discuss complaints. We didn't discuss, trying to make money on them, which I'm sure this may be an effort, trying everything else. So I really wasn't going to say anything, but George, I know you weren't our solicitor when I first started, but you were here pretty much after I started, probably in the next year or so, and you're going to have to remind me when we had that discussion.
I don't know if it was between the manager and department heads or involved
Okay,
council.
so it wasn't council.
I don't know.
Well, I can tell you it wasn't council. I missed 2 meetings, and I read the minutes, and America wasn't on those minutes. So, guys, be careful how you're being guided here. I don't know why you're being guided and which direction you're being guided, but like Dave said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You guys don't have a good record of fixing things, as I see it anyway. So let's stop. Let's stop this in its tracks. Let's serve the people of this community, not who or what. If you're trying to make money, this isn't the way to do it. So I'm not sure why you're doing it. You haven't answered that. 6 complaints is what I heard you say?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think those complaints, should be checked on. I don't know where they came from, but if you're saying 6, I know you get 6 complaints a day about trash being picked up, leaves being picked up. I'm sure you're getting 6 complaints about a lot of things. If you work that hard on the other 6 complaints that you get, or 20 complaints that you get, this township would be running great. So if you're going to pay attention to 6 complaints that you've had in 6 months, complain about the 6 that you're getting a day for other things. I'm sure you're getting more than 6 for other things.
I'm not.
I'm not going to go back and forth with you. Guys, think about what you're doing, okay? Think about what you're doing.
Thank you. I'm Rich Litton. I'm the president of Hayesport Emergency Squad, past president of the County First Aid Council. I've been doing volunteer ambulance work since 1979, pretty much on a daily basis. And the one thing I can tell you is the calls are going up. They're going up countywide, they're going up township-wide, everywhere. To take away the service when we are lacking already would be just a major, major mistake. The other departments, they're already busy, whether they have volunteer or career staff.
their staff is taking care of running town, so they're trying to bring somebody in to take another piece out of the puzzle. Next ice storm, next bus crash, whatever, you're gonna have one of those hour response times. It gets scary sometimes now, everybody's tied up. That's with America running 24/7. So take them out of the puzzle, there's gonna be a big hole in the puzzle, and I think you're gonna have a problem. We're here from our squad to support them. We all support each other. We've been doing this a long time. The other thing I want to throw out there, I know in some other areas, there were some areas in Atlantic County that closed their squads and privatized them because they got a low bid. They were giving their squad, let's say, $20,000 a year for a volunteer squad. Squad went away. Contractor came in. Contractor wasn't making enough money. Contractor comes back the next year. We need $75,000 to provide EMS. Now the assets you originally had, the squad building, the ambulances, the volunteer career staff, whatever, they're all gone. America would only last so long without serving Mount Holly Township. So once they're gone, and the contractor comes back and changes the price, you're kind of doomed then. You can end up costing more than it's costing now. Last thing I want to add, only half related to the topic, but if there's any way to get Madison Avenue paved for our ambulance, it's that bad. I mean, I can't say that enough, but for all our ambulances, not just Mount Holly, St. Sports, or anyone else's, but we're giving our patients a bad ride. You know how to contact me. I'm going to help forever, so give me a ring. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Cornelia Rencher. I speak as a United States citizen under the rights of the Constitution to have my right to speak. A little background, I won't prolong it. My son is now serving in the U.S. Army. He's trained for on-foot combat infantry in Louisiana. He's my only son, so I have a right to speak. I lived in Mount Holly for years as my parents retired from McGuire Air Force Base and lived in Mount Holly for years. And all I can say is I have nothing to hide, but I do know recently I served with the polls, helping people vote. I'm a Republican, I'm proud of that. And I'm here to say that when I went in and heard what was transpiring here in your community where I used to live, I live in Florence now, but I believe it's still Burlington County. Those men in that EMT squad and the surrounding areas, they saved my life, not once, not twice, but several times. They were impartial. They picked me up from my parents' home, took me to a hospital, and saved my life. I have cardiomyopathy. I suffer diabetes. I once weighed 397 pounds when I graduated college. So I suffered tremendous problems as I came from Europe to New Jersey. It was a culture shock. Long story short, Jason Jones, you have my hair? You have to remember, this country is now in a state of war, and there's intellectual warfare, there's financial warfare, there's all types of warfare. But if in fact you take your intellectual asset, which are the members of your surrounding communities who not only grew up in this area, they know the back roads, they know how to get somebody quick to the hospital. My fear is, if you should privatize or bring in West Hampton or what have you, are these guys going to be going to chase? Are they going to chase that box down and get people where they need to go? Nowadays, Americans are not following the rules. I was trained and brought up that when you saw a siren, whether it's the cops or the fire department, you pull over. You let them go. So if you take them out and put new people in from West Hampton, you want to make sure they're trained properly. But also, I hear they have recently proposed a proposal, in fact, to try to save themselves from being ousted from where they've been for so long. My only concern is, if in fact you bring in other people, subsidy groups, what have you, are the taxes going to be raised? Two, are these guys going to be able to save lives like they saved my life? on many occasions, and I could prove it in documentation. I'm here saying thank you to Mount Holly, to the ambulance. I couldn't afford to pay them. At that time, my coverage covered it. Now it doesn't. And I still take ambulances to the hospitals and what have you, and they'll take $5, $10 a month. I served with poles right here at the America #1. They need toilet bowl seats in the ladies' room. They need curtains. They're working a skeleton crew with great intellectual asset and a medical background for little or nothing. So if you remove these guys, just remember, if they have to reapply, take them back in. They got kids, they have a wife. And they saved my life. It's not that I don't trust West Hampton or East Hampton or Mount Holly. I think it's one big family. And a long time ago when I came here, in closure, I thought, well, you got 3 police departments. You're paying 3 captains. Why don't they all wear the same uniform and fight the good fight of faith?
Hi, how you doing? Rita Walker, 133 Ashurst Lane. My question would be, America knows where I live. They know every street, correct? Because it's a tiny little area. If you farm it on out to West Hampton, they're not going to know when I call and say I live on Ashurst Lane, where exactly I am. Because down one end of the street it's spelled one way, down the other end of the street it's spelled another way. Along with that point, I don't know where I've lived. I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm still going with the sign thing. I walk my dogs at night. If I have an emergency, I can't tell them where I am because you can't read the street signs. How would another squad know where I am if I say, I'm on Ashurst Lane, but I'm at the end with 1 H. Oh wait, I'm at the end with 2 H's. I'm 2 blocks down from Ashurst Lane, but I don't know where I am because the street sign. So why don't we bid out to get the street signs painted and leave America?
Anybody else out there?
Anybody else?
We good?
They're asking for seconds.
I did promise Tim a second chance to speak.
Would you like me to state my name and address for the record?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
Tim Young, 158 Mill Street. So Mike Rothwell actually said what I would have said to you, which is why not just say a damn number, HIPAA began. But I do, since I have a little more time here, I do want to ask, so you're receiving bids for the RFP on the 16th of November, correct? Yes, and at what time will the bids be opened?
I don't have,
the time on.
we didn't have that on our paperwork, it would be the time. We can get that back to you.
I think it's like around 1 or 2, but I don't remember.
Now, according to law, the opening of those bids would be open to the public, is that correct? Yes, so will it be advertised on the website when those bids will be open so that the public could be present?
We'll make sure it's on the bid.
It's on.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Make sure you're there, guys.
Can I make one more brief?
This is, we're not gonna be able to do this the
Yeah,
entire thing.
I just want to thank the Burlington County Times and whoever got the letters out to us, because we probably wouldn't have heard from you guys until it was a done deal.
Right.
Yeah!
That's why we did.
Thank you for everyone that came out and spoke tonight, but we are going to close the public portion for tonight. And if council has any comments, we can take it now or we can wait till the end of the meeting.
No, I do. Of course, anybody else would like to go first?
Do you have any comments on that? Betty?
Not right now.
Yeah, just, again, a lot of people out here know me. I've been here for a little while. I was here when Bobby Byam, way back in the 90s, turned the squad really in a different direction and started doing billing. Bobby was not only a fellow council person, but a friend. So I respect the squad, I respect the job they've done, I respect the history of the squad. Part of it was the complaints, that's why when it was brought up, I didn't necessarily have a major objection to it. But also some recent correspondence from our insurance agent, as it was an email. He basically said a claim could be denied based upon the township's not having an insurable interest in the vehicles. We have contacted the township on numerous occasions, which was news to me, regarding this, and have been told that this is being addressed. So something fundamentally had to change, and in this day and age when we're re-looking at everything, I thought it was a good time to take a fresh look. I will tell you that the proposal that received is not one of those cases where the poll is going to be opened on the 16th and the award is going to be made on the 17th. We have 60 days to act upon the proposals. We don't necessarily need to act on the proposals. So, you know, they're going to be thoroughly looked at and reviewed. And if America is, you know, if we score, you know, I'm just theoretically, if America is, you know, there, I'd like to see America stay. But, you know, if there, you know, somebody scores, you know, a 9 and America's an 8, I'd like to see America stay. So, you know, the proposals are going to be heavily reviewed, and, you know, we really want to be, in this case, I know politicians aren't known for being transparent, or at least theoretically people don't think we're transparent, but accountability and transparency are really what we're trying to assure and give the best medical service to the residents of Mount Holly. That, from my perspective, that's what it's all about. So like I said, you know, these proposals received in November 16th, theoretically we would have till January 16th to act upon them, should we wish to act upon them. We don't have to act upon them, and we may not act upon them. You know, maybe that's just to start the discussion, to see where we're going. You know, somebody brought up regionalization tonight. You know, sometimes, you know, that's a bad word. People don't, you know, but in the end, that's when people are going to save money. I'm not saying we're going to regionalize the squad, you know, today, but if you're really going to save money, you know, we have 5 towns here: West Hampton, East Hampton, Mount Holly, Newport. The 5 will still make up a decent, you know, world, but still we have 5 of these and 5 of that, and 5 of that, and 5 of that. Like, you know, I give up my seat to somebody in Hainesport tomorrow if we combine all the towns and we save the taxpayers money. So I think we have to take a look at it. Again, all things being equal, I'd like to see America stay. But I think, you know, I owe it to myself, and I believe I owe it to the taxpayers of Mount Holly to take a look at it.
There's one thing you may not want to say.
Please,
Marty, on that.
please, public comments over. Okay, so we're going to move on to consent agenda. So, if people are going to be leaving, I'll give you a brief 2 minutes to exit the building before we move on, so we don't have disruption and noise over top of Please, guys, if you're going to have comments, please take them outside, because we do have a time limit on how long we can have a meeting. But I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. Thank you. All right, moving on. We do have a time limit tonight. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of Resolution 2015-194, resolution providing the insertion of any special item of revenue in the budget of any county or municipal person. Resolution 2015-195, resolution to transfer tax overpayment. Resolution 2015-196, authorizing the release of performance bond guaranteed to Bank of America, property located at 10 Rancocas Road. Resolution 2015-197, referring the referral of proposed ordinance to the acquired land of the Township Land Use Planning Board. Resolution 2015-198, resolution authorizing and designating a handicap parking space at 19 Madison Avenue. Resolution 199, approving application of Rock LLC for Urban Enterprise Zone. Good Neighborhood Loan Program. Resolution 200, resolution to cancel outstanding reconciling items. Resolution 201, resolution of the Township of Mount Holly referring to the revised housing element of fair share plan to the Mount Holly Land Use Board for review in order to obtain a third round judgment. Resolution 202, entry into agreement with Elizabeth Holmes. We'll also include the bill list and the department reports if there aren't any questions on that. Any questions from the council on any of the resolutions, the bill list, or department reports?
No, sir.
Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda as read.
I have a first and second, roll call.
Mr. Brown? Ms. Sykes?
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to the matters presented by the Deputy Township Manager.
I'd like to thank Mr. Diamond for coming out. If you guys had any questions, he's the one that's in the neighborhood set in the meeting for us. So if you guys have any questions after the meeting, he's here to answer them. The only thing I would say is just November 23rd, to make sure that it's a special meeting, EMS won't be on there.
Can we make sure that gets on the website for anyone that checks the website so we don't have a large crowd again?
God forbid a large crowd come out.
Well, not that, it's just that.
Well, but it's a public meeting.
Public meeting, it's still public.
Yeah, and
So people are aware
a
that
public meeting and a public.
Well, we will not be voting or.
Right.
it's a special meeting, anything on for a special meeting would have to be previously advertised for emergency, so it could not be voted on that night. Because it's advertised for purposes of third round compliance with fair share housing for that meeting, that's the only reason we're having that.
Nothing else? All right. Matter presented by the solicitor?
I think we pretty much covered, I was going to mention the third round plan, but that's pretty much all complete. Obviously, we're in good shape on that. Anybody knows the construction phase 2 down at the gardens, of course, and the designated redeveloper obviously closed on the Lakes property. They expect to hopefully start construction soon. We're going to hopefully have some agreements for council, and they are under contract for the bowling pin site in the due diligence period, and hopefully that'll get moving for the first 2 rounds of that to right down Washington Street. And continue to keep moving forward. That's all I have.
Thank you. We'll move it up to council for any matters. Start with Lou? No. Betty?
No, I don't have any.
Jules?
I don't have any further.
On to me. Well, so on some good notes. November 11th, Wednesday, the Veterans Memorial Service. It'll start at 11 a.m. at High Ridgely at the Veterans Park. It's always a very nice done memorial. Please come out and support us. And also December 4th, it's fast approaching. We have the holiday tree lighting and parade. That'll be running from 6 to 9. So that should be a good time, like it always is. I'm sure the tree will be going up very soon. It's always lovely to see. Just bring that whole Christmas spirit, and I got to buy presents for the kids, you know. So Other than that, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. I'm sorry, it was a very long meeting, but our residents do need to be heard, and we will take all their thoughts and considerations into our decision-making when we go to have that chance. So, nothing else, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.